This is CBC News for the Maritimes on Friday, July 2nd. Questions and confusion tonight over testing at the PEI border.
They said since I had my first vaccine, there was no need for me to get tested.
A rapid COVID test has been a requirement since PEI reopened its borders, but now it appears the rules are changing, at least for some. We'll hear from travelers and health officials about what has changed and why. Also ahead tonight.
Like nothing I've ever seen before. Trees were bending over, you could hear trees breaking.
It was unexpected and short-lived, but a strange storm in Nova Scotia packed a big punch. We'll take you to Stewiacke, one community hit especially hard.
This is CBC Compass.
Well, good evening. Thanks for joining us for this half-hour maritime edition of CBC News. I'm Steve Bruce, and we begin tonight at the PEI border. Since this province reopened, travel across that border has required a rapid COVID test. In fact, PEI is the only province with that requirement, but now some people aren't being tested after all. Wayne Thibodeau explains why.
To come to PEI, you need one of these, a PEI pass. And provincial officials say when you get here, you will be tested with a rapid point-of-care test. But provincial officials now say when the lineups get too long, not everybody will be tested.
They said since I had my first vaccine, there was no need for me to get tested.
Chandler Campbell lives in Amherst, Nova Scotia, but most of his family is on PEI. He hasn't seen them in 9 months. So on Canada Day, he packed his bags and headed to the island for the long weekend.
I was off the bridge and then they got me to one of the tents. There was probably about 10 tents set up and they were just full of cars. And I went up and waited in line for about 15 minutes and a COVID officer came up and asked me a few questions, asked for my PEI pass, and I was good to go.
The province says its testing strategy is based on the amount of traffic coming into the province. When the volume is high, officials do a risk assessment and only test certain people, like those from outside Atlantic Canada or people without a PEI pass. And the criteria for the modified rules? When there are more than 350 tests pending or the parking lot is more than 2/3 full at the bridge. In a statement to CBC News, the island's chief public health office said, on the morning of July 1st, due to exceptionally high traffic volumes at the Confederation Bridge and to avoid having traffic backed up onto the bridge, for a 90-minute period it was necessary to test only individuals entering PEI who did not have a PEI pass. Once traffic was cleared, the staff responsible for screening and testing were able to manage the volume of travelers. Officials with the Chief Public Health Office say since June 27, more than 10,000 rapid tests have been completed, about 2/3 of those at the Confederation Bridge. Provincial officials do say about 70% of those people coming into the province by bridge and airport are tested, about 90% of those coming in by ferry. Wayne Thibodeau, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Well, let's take a quick look now at COVID-19 cases around the region. In Nova Scotia tonight, there are 2 new cases, and there are 47 in total there. And some other Nova Scotia COVID news, international travelers will be allowed into the province starting Monday. They must be fully vaccinated and pre-approved for entry, and they won't have to self-isolate. In New Brunswick, there are 4 new cases and 25 active ones, and the numbers of people vaccinated continues to rise. 78% of people aged 12 and over have 1 vaccine, 37% have 2. And here in PEI, there are no new cases today. There is just 1 active case here on the island. That was announced earlier this week. Let's bring in Jay Scotland for our first look at weather around the region. And we didn't see that kind of extreme weather here, but talk about a change, though. Hot and sticky earlier this week and really into that cold and rain now.
Well, that was the problem. On Wednesday, it was the hot and the sticky weather. That humidity is the fuel for strong thunderstorms. Thunderstorms were in the forecast for both New Brunswick and for Nova Scotia. I'm actually going to show you the radar imagery out of Stewiacke around the time that storm moved through. So that is the storm that moved through. You see, not that large, but a very impressive storm in terms of its impact. We see that, as we heard mentioned earlier in that story from my fellow meteorologist, my colleague Ryan Snodden, that bow echo we can see on the radar, and that's where we have the winds from above being mixed down to the surface like a downburst, and that could actually cause that line of storms to start to bow out. It kind of resembles that Archer's bow look right there, and anytime we see that on a radar imagery, we do know that that often means very strong winds. We can see localized tornadoes, gustnadoes ahead of it, but really it's the strong straight line winds moving in advance of that storm that cause a lot of damage. And with these downbursts, those winds can be well in excess of 100 kilometers per hour. So that was the scene over Stewiacke at 2:45 on Wednesday. Also, we heard about some lightning damage there as well. There was a lot of lightning with that very, not large, but that very intense thunderstorm, or that line of thunderstorms that was moving through the area. Luckily, structures were hurt, but luckily folks seem to be okay in that area. So some good news, at least, on that front. In terms of the weather picture across the Maritimes today, cloudy, showery, that has been the theme, and still looking at some heavier rain falling over parts of eastern Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton. We're an additional 5 to 10 millimeters this evening for eastern Nova Scotia. Cape Breton could see between 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. The steadiest of that rain will begin to taper off once we head into the overnight hours. Fog patches, drizzle, and isolated showers possible through the overnight hours into your Saturday morning, and then maybe some sun into parts of northern New Brunswick. Otherwise cloudy with a chance of showers through the day across most of the Maritimes. I'll be back in just a bit with a more detailed look at your forecast. Steve?
All right, thanks a lot, Jay. Pretty incredible. Well, coming up, the Montreal Canadiens will be looking for a win tonight. The team is down 2-0 in the Stanley Cup final. Well, there are fans all over the Maritimes, of course, so we'll visit with some who take their devotion to the next level. But before that, Jay Scotland will be back with his full weather forecast. It was a gray and chilly day in many parts of the region, including here in Charlottetown. Jay will tell us whether things will warm up for the weekend. That's after the break. Stick around for that. Hot, windy conditions continue to fan fires in and around the town of Lytton, British Columbia. One of those fires devastated the town on Wednesday, destroying 90% of the buildings. RCMP are going door to door looking for people who remain unaccounted for. Many of those who escaped to nearby towns are being forced to move again because of the ongoing fire threat. More than 80 wildfires are burning in BC. Temperatures across the southern interior continue to range from the high 30s to the low 40s. And Jay here now with a full look at our forecast. And, you know, I'm not liking this cold, rainy weather here, but it seems wrong to complain when you look at that situation.
Just to look at the fact that 3 all-time Canadian daytime high records in a row for Lytton, and then that devastating fire that followed.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and really just, best wishes to folks that are working to check on those folks that are unaccounted for there. All right, let's take a look now at our temperatures across the Maritimes. Quite a different story here. Cooler, cloudy conditions, showers, really the theme today. Steadier pockets of rain over, still falling over eastern parts of the Maritimes, namely eastern Nova Scotia into Cape Breton. Temperatures, though, well off that seasonal average. Just 18, that'd be one of our warmer spots. It was up into northern, northwestern New Brunswick. It topped out around 18 degrees today. Current temperature still sitting at 18 degrees. Most areas, though, mid to high teens, and a few spots into the low teens today. Clouds, showers, not exactly July-like temperatures that we would expect, certainly for this time of year. So as we take a look at the satellite and the radar picture, you can see the steadiest of the showers falling over eastern areas. You can see parts of Kings County in PEI seeing some steadier shower activity. As we look up towards Canso, up into Port Hawkesbury, into Cape Breton, you're seeing that's where the heaviest of the rain is falling. And you could pick up into Cape Breton. This rain will likely continue past midnight for you, the steadier rain, another 10 to 20 millimeters or so. In total, over the weekend, it could add up, though. We'll show you that in just a moment. First area of low pressure will skirt to our south and east, and that rain continues to work its way through the overnight hours across eastern Nova Scotia. Into tomorrow morning, a few isolated showers. My big concern would be drizzle, mist, and fog for much of the Maritimes into the early morning hours. Now, winds northeast to the east tomorrow will be quite brisk, so hopefully that will help to mix out that fog through the morning hours. We may see some breaks of sunshine into northern parts of New Brunswick. Otherwise, overcast conditions will be the theme across most of the Maritimes. clouds, and it is also going to be quite breezy as well. Coastal areas could see winds out of the east-northeast, anywhere from 30 to gusting over 50 near 60 kilometers per hour. Inland areas not as gusty, but still quite breezy. As we roll this ahead into Saturday night, another area of low pressure moving up, wrapping in some moisture, and there's a lot of uncertainty into the amounts of rainfall here, but we could be looking at an additional highly localized amounts, 15 to 25, near 30 millimeters of rain in a few spots. So some heavier downpours, some steadier rain possible on Sunday. Southern New Brunswick, much of Nova Scotia, PEI, and Cape Breton. Northern New Brunswick looking to avoid all but showers. But as we look to the forecast, just know that it's just a chance of showers for Saturday. The steadier rain chance is likely going to be Sunday. So really, your Friday night and your Sunday. And speaking of tonight, through the overnight hours, between 7 and 13 degrees, with clear skies to the north, clouds and showers to the south for New Brunswick. PEI, showers, drizzle, some fog is possible across all three maritime provinces. Lows between 11 to 13 degrees, and between 9 and 13 with showers and some fog possible. The showers tapering off for most areas, but some steadier rain over Cape Breton for Nova Scotia. As we take a look at how your Saturday is shaping up, not much sun aside from northern New Brunswick, and not much heat either. Clouds, overcast conditions, and a few isolated showers will be possible. Watch for some morning fog and drizzle, as well as a brisk east to northeast wind that will be gusty for coastal areas. As we look to your Sunday, we're not seeing much of an improvement. Temperatures still for most areas into the mid to high teens. Again, not much, but you may see a few breaks of sunshine into northern New Brunswick, and we're still looking at a pretty brisk wind that is generally coming from a northerly direction on Sunday as well. And watch for a few heavier pockets of rain on Sunday. And where we could see that, you have a good chance of seeing some heavier rain into parts of eastern Nova Scotia, as well as parts of southern New Brunswick. You can see this forecast model here hinting at amounts. This will be tonight through Sunday, hinting at amounts over 40 millimeters possible in a few spots. So soggy for some, otherwise cloudy and showery for others, and it's going to be windy and a bit cool right through the weekend. Steve?
All right, thank you, Jay. And enjoy your weekend, though bring a coat by the looks of it.
I hear you're camping, so good luck to you.
We will see. Well, this was the scene in the New Brunswick capital yesterday, one of many places around the region that marked Canada Day differently this year. Hundreds gathered in Fredericton, not for a celebration, but a healing walk. As you can see, many people wore orange shirts in solidarity with Indigenous communities and laid down children's shoes at Government House. This, of course, followed the discovery of a growing number of unmarked graves across Canada near the sites of former residential schools.
Today we are gathered to honor our lost children and our survivors. Today is a day of mourning and remembrance. But we are also hoping.
And a similar approach throughout Nova Scotia yesterday. You're looking at a memorial held in downtown Halifax. Chants of do the right thing echoed around Peace and Friendship Park. It was a directive for governments to do more to work towards reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Organizers say the event was meant to educate and commemorate the children who died at residential schools.
Breaking the silence is what this is about. Our ceremonies should not be held in secrecy.
And finally, a look here at Canada Day in the PEI capital. Hundreds dressed in orange at the Charlottetown Events Grounds. This gathering and others around the island focus on reflecting on the nation's past and honoring residential school survivors and those who died. The chief of the Abuguit First Nation said the sea of orange and the show of solidarity from so many on PEI and across the country has given him some hope for the future. Stay with us. We're back in a moment. Whether you're a Habs fan or not, you got to love the passion. All right, that is all our time for tonight. For those of you in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, thanks for joining us here on PEI. You'll be back to your regular provincial newscasts on Monday. And Islanders, that's when we'll see you back here for a full hour of Compass. Have a great weekend.